Located on the corner of Neville Road and Walford Road, in London Stoke Newington, Walford Road Synagogue, otherwise known as Sha'arei Mazal Tov, Gates of Good Fortune, is one of the very few independent Orthodox synagogues in the UK. Originally a brick Wesleyan chapel built in 1865, then a lecture hall, it was finally converted into a synagogue in 1920 for a Jewish congregation that was established in 1912 and previously housed in a private residence at number 99 Belgrade Road. Following its consecration on the 25th of September 1921, the synagogue was then extensively rebuilt in 1931. The interior, with painted donors' boards decorating the gallery fronts, is reminiscent of earlier East End synagogues such as Princelet Street, although, in Walford Road, there is a shallow barrel-vaulted ceiling rather than a skylight.
Generally speaking, there's a belief, we might even call it a stereotype, that Jews simply went from the East End to Golders Green, or sort of the ends of the tube line and other well-known areas of Jewish settlement, if not Golders Green, Hendon or points further out from there. But one thing that is much less recognized is that when Jews started leaving the East End per se, oftentimes they didn't go that very far off. That is, they just went sort of a little ways up the road in terms of settling in places like Dalston and Stoke Newington. So what happened was that after the period of mass immigration, Stoke Newington actually became a major area of settlement for working class Jews, or Jews who had become more sort of solidly working class, and then sort of getting sort of more toward the middle class. So there are actually a lot of Jews who trace their origins to Stoke Newington. It's actually quite interesting that we don't have that many synagogues with a long history in the period, or where there hasn't been some sort of radical, some kind of radical transformation, as the majority of the East End synagogues no longer exist as synagogues. But I think one of the things that makes Walford Road interesting is that it's been around for a while, and it's been sort of under the same auspices. And the idea that it isn't part of United Synagogue, I think, has actually helped with its longevity, because United Synagogue very often sort of got rid of its synagogues in order to cash them out, and as population went down. But for reasons that probably other people understand better than I do, even though the Jewish population of the area went down, the synagogue did not completely go under. It wound up actually adjusting in certain ways. I think it's a really interesting place. I think it's rather interesting from a purely physical standpoint, in that we know that it began life not as a synagogue per se, but I think it works rather well as a synagogue. It actually is a not too imposing structure, but rather impressive and a little bit different. And I think that in some ways it looks a little bit more welcoming than some of the synagogues. Its signage is actually quite nice, and I think it is rather attractive. And also, I think it actually fits within the very multicultural character of the neighborhood, where you often don't have recognizable synagogues, or they're sort of, if they do exist, they're sort of tucked away. And it's a really interesting area. They weren't really sure what was going to happen within these kinds of traditional spaces. So this was the kind of place where you could have these more alternate institutions. And I think in some ways it's really quite nice that it is survived into a period when Jews have actually started coming back to this area.
I'm Abraham Citrin, Rabbi at the Walford Road Synagogue, and been there for about 13 years. So just to give like a quick idea, so let's say a major core of the synagogue and certain families who've kept it going in the I don't know what to call it, dark ages. No, let's say 70s, 80s, when the Stoke Newington went from being a predominantly Jewish neighborhood to very much not a Jewish neighborhood. They kept it going, and some of those families still are involved in the shul, like our chairman Ike Albert and his extended family, like the Raymond family, although they don't live in Stoke Newington anymore. So that's sort of Indian Baghdadi, Indian Jews who originated from Baghdad, plus other Indian Jews from other communities. We have a few Moroccans. We have a few Israelis. Of course, we have English Jews. We have an American rabbi. You have Hazan, who is from Chabad Lubavitch. It's just a really nice mix of Sephardi, Ashkenazi, of different levels of religious observance.
I've been attending the synagogue since the age of actually pre-bar mitzvah. So I go back a long, long way. It's my father's first shul in the area in Stoke Newington. And I became the secretary about 20 years ago when my uncle gave up the post and went to Israel, so I took it over. It's known to be a very warm, friendly synagogue and it accommodates people of all denominations, Sephardi, Ashkenazi, and all religious levels. In its heyday, these doors used to be the main entrance to the synagogue, and the men used to enter through here, and the woman's entrance was through the side door. So today this has been closed off and everyone enters through here, but once we open the side door, you'll see why that's the ladies' entrance. So as I said before, this is used to be the ladies' entrance. The reason why is this is the way to the ladies' gallery. As you can see, and we'll go to there later on, you can see. So this building was originally a Welsh chapel, and right behind me we had the location of the organ. It's a wind-operated organ. It used to be here for many, many years until we disposed of it about 5 years ago. And I think it was brought up from downstairs when the church was converted to a synagogue. Obviously there's no place for it downstairs. So it's in its heyday, in the 50s and 60s, this synagogue was jam-packed. I remember when I first came here as a child in the late 60s, early 70s, it was full up. And in regards to the ladies' gallery, the prime seats were obviously immediately around the gallery here, so the women could have a good view of the proceedings. And the cheaper seats, I guess, were over here. These fold-up seats, which are no longer used, are in a pretty bad state, are all the way around the ladies' gallery. And during the High Holy Days, the synagogue used to be jam-packed. say the other honorary officers used to sit here with the top hats, and when I was bar mitzvahed, after when the rabbi gave the speech, I stood in this box and faced him here. Donated these. Each individual that was donated here. It's donated by Mr. H. Racketson in memory of his father, Abraham Racketson, who died 25th of June 1931. This Bima is made of solid wood, the same material as the ark. It's absolutely solid wood. Very strong. Lasts a long time. This is presented by the Ladies Guild. This post and this one. And the last one was presented by, again, Racketson. We present two ones. It seems that they donated each and every each and every piece of the Bima, the ark, the stanchions, the beams, were all donated